Worried about your construction project? Here's why it's not finished yet. In this video, I'm going to explain why most, if not maybe all projects that are, and especially all projects using CPM, go bad at about the 2/3 point and we enter into a crash landing. I'm going to show you why trades are stacked and burdened, what happens because of it, and what you can do instead. All right now, you've come to the right place. So this is exciting. I'm really jammed to talk to you about this, and I'm going to use the flip chart behind me to explain these concepts. So when you use the critical path method or simple bar charts or any other type of scheduling that is not a time by location, that's where you have, let's say, zones 1, 2, and 3, and you have trades 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you protect that trade flow. There's a lot of different permutations for this, and it can look differently, but when you don't use Takt, you will end up in a problem, okay? Takt means beat or rhythm. It means the overall flow or the cadence of your trade flow on your project site. So in a CPM schedule, and I'm just going to go ahead and do a little angry face here because that's how I feel about it. What you have is you'll have time on the top, and on the left, you have deliverables. This is per the system itself. This isn't me demonizing it. So you will create a work breakdown structure, usually typically by deliverable, sometimes by location. The best people do it by location. But you'll start to create sequences here, and what you'll do is you'll logic tie them, okay? And what happens is your schedule gets so long that you as a human being forget what you did in here from a tie standpoint. The idea behind a CPM schedule is that it's supposed to logic tie all of these activities with a successor and a predecessor, and then calculate by going forward all the way to the end, and then coming back, calculate the longest path, which is your critical path. Now, the reason I really dislike this is because the critical path is a projection. It will change like 50 different times. The schedule is not in the right format. You can't see it, and even if the critical path was real, you wouldn't know what to do about it because CPM offers zero solutions to actually solve the problem. The only thing that CPM typically says is to add resources or add time. And we've talked about in other videos how this, when you do this above needed levels, all you do is extend your project. So this is a recipe for disaster. So in CPM scheduling, there's a couple things that are really problematic. One person creates the schedule. That one person forgets what he or she did. Human minds are not sharp enough with enough processing capability to actually understand all the logic ties and the consequences. You cannot see this trade flow, which means you don't have the most important thing in construction. It has too much unchecked power. Owners of buildings will abuse you with it. It looks like it's right because it's complex, and on and on and on. But one of the worst things that happens is that instead of creating a nice, beautiful, leveled work and process on a job site, what CPM will do, it does the forward and the backward pass and will move everything to the left as much as possible, so it will increase your work in process above your capacity to actually build work. So it's really problematic. So that in and of itself will mean that you, and let me go ahead and draw this, that you will start to delay right out of the gate. So what I mean by that is if you have your first, third, and your 2/3 of the project, right? And you have your start, your 1/3 point, your 2/3 point, and then your substantial completion. You already, because you're rushing, pushing, and panicking people, you're going to start to drift. Oh my gosh, this is such a good video. So your schedule that you had, I'm just going to keep it as a simple bar chart here, and then I'll use blue for what's really happening. Because the more you add resources and the more you add time to rush and push and panic people, because you're increasing your work in process, your schedule will actually start to extend. Now, what's interesting is at the end of your project schedule, you probably throughout had some nice flow built into the schedule, but the schedulers will start to see, and the supers will start to see, oh, we have a problem here, so we have to go ahead and dissolve logic. So instead of having this nice flow, they'll start to say, oh, we can stack and to attempt to recover. Okay, so then in the 2/3 point over here, you have even more of it happening. Okay, so about halfway through, you realize that you're not on track, so the schedulers start to stack more work here. So what happens is you are attempting to hit the same substantial completion date, but again, you have increased your work in process above the capacity of the team to actually build the project, and now you are actually entering the world of trade stacking and trade burdening. What I mean by that is that whereas before you may have had a trade flowing from area to area, you might have one trade that's here, 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 and they're in 4 to 10, typically we see it like in 10 different locations. You have them in 10 different locations, which means that they're expected to do something like this with one crew, but they really only can do with one crew this, right? So your schedule is lying to you. You really need for this schedule, you really need time to let it all flesh out, and it's actually going to finish all the way here at the end. It is not going to finish here, okay? So what happens now is you're entering a dumpster fire. So you were just getting behind, you're dissolving logic at the end, you're having problems, and now you have an increase of work in process at the end. So you will be like, hey, I'm pretty happy with the team, we're doing okay, we'll get going good, I don't know. And then you've got the squiggly face like, I'm mad, we're in a full-blown crash landing. That's why almost all projects, the owner or the executive team or the leadership team is like, how are we going? Good? Yeah, okay, I'm watching it. No, I'm gonna go out there and check. Oh, no, we're in a full-blown crash landing. It's always at this point then you find you're in a problem. Now, it's too late, okay? Because, and we'll link you to this video below in the description, when you start to bring out, with this stacking, and with this rushing and pushing, and with this work in process, when you have too much, and let me just go ahead and explain this. When you have too much or too many, whichever word is appropriate here, too many people, you lose productivity and your duration extends. When you have too much work in process, you have an extension of your overall duration, and you also have more panic. When you have too many materials, you have the 8 wastes. When you have too much push and panic, you have all the negative consequences of people having poor decision making, low productivity, an inability to communicate to the rest of the team, and all of the other negative effects. So when you have too many people, too much work in process, too many materials, too much push, not in a flow, all that does is extend your project duration. That's all it does. The other thing is, there's a production law that says a couple of other things, that it's called the law of the effects of variation. If you increase the amount of variation, which this does because you're batching, it also extends your project duration. So this is what I'm attempting to explain, and I hope that I can make this land. You're already you tried to rush here at the beginning, which caused you to delay. You keep trying to rush, which delays you further. Then you start stacking work by dissolving logic, which rushes you even further. And then you have too many people, work in process, materials, and push, which extends your schedule because you're losing productivity. So it was a problem times 1 up here. It started to be a problem times 2 because of a compounding effect. Now watch this. At the end, it's going to be like times 5 to 10. You're in a dumpster fire. You will start throwing away more resources, meaning not using resources, and throwing away more money and more materials due to rework and more morale out the window because the job site's upset than almost anything else you can do. You are making it worse with this increase in work in process. That's why, a lot of people give me a hard time. They're like, Jason, why are you criticizing CPM? The system is designed to increase work in process above your capacity and hurt you to where you have the compounding effect until it's too late. CPM is designed to do this to you. It will do this to you every time, and you always have a problem right here. So you're probably expecting me to say, what should we do instead? Again, I don't just like Takt plans because I know how to do it. I know CPM scheduling as well. Always have a time by location format with a good flow where you always protect your trade flow's ability to flow in that diagonal. And what I want you to do is always pull plan this phase to make sure your sequence is right. I want you to always calculate that you have the right number of zones over here so that you have a good amount of throughput and that your overall system is designed properly. And I want you to make sure you have leveled trades and leveled zones. I would really, really like you to match your supply chain up ahead of this activity with a buffer and keep that rhythm. Prepare your work, especially from a quality standpoint. And when you're doing your 6-week make ready, look ahead plan in your weekly work plan, make work ready and look for roadblocks. Make sure you have a good path to finish at the end of the project on a rhythm, and focus on trades inside their wagons, finishing inside their zone by the end of their zone on time in a flow. That's what you need to do. If you do this, you'll counteract all of those problems that I showed you before because, and I'll just draw this in red, you have a leveled amount of work and process. You are preparing and planning as you go. This, by the way, should have said Q for quality, okay? And you are finishing on a rhythm. You are reducing variation, which shortens your overall project. You are identifying whether it's zone or trade bottlenecks and able to fix them right away. And you are making 100% sure that you're not over capacity and that we're never bringing out too many people, that we don't have too much work in process, that we're not bringing out too many materials, and that we're never rushing and pushing and panicking. The key is, and it turns out the US military, maybe other militaries have this as well, if this is an international video, but slow, and I'm going to actually say flow is smooth, and smooth is fast. So that is the key, and that is what we should be doing. And that's why at the 2/3 point, meaning not doing this, we always end up heading into a crash landing. So if you ever want to know why your project isn't finished yet, it's because you're compounding problems because of too much work and process above capacity, and you have all of the negativity, production loss problems by stacking and burdening trades, and it's only going to get worse. Please like and subscribe to this video if you found this helpful for your project. We're going to link you to that Canva file that I think you're going to love. I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.